I understand that some of you be working as well. And so what I'm going to ask is that whenever there's an opportunity to share, that you come off of mute and simply speak. If you guys end up talking over each other, we can just figure out who's going to get the opportunity to go first. So again, name's Will Fernandez, been in the business for 13 years, have been everything from a sign and lockbox runner to the CEO of this company, Keller Williams Alaska Group. Your name, sir?
Luke.
Luke. Welcome, Luke. I'm Will.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. We're gonna have a lot of fun in the room today, and we have 3 people over Zoom. Miss Kelly, are you with us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kelly. Cameron, are you on?
I'm on. Hi.
Hey. And is it Ariana? How do you pronounce that correctly? I want to make sure I get it right.
Good morning. It's Arian.
Arian. Arian, beautiful name. Wonderful. Well, welcome, Arian. Welcome, Luke. Welcome, Cameron. And welcome, Kelly. Today, we're going to be covering qualifying potential buyers and sellers. Hey, Tara.
What a treat.
Yeah, it's so good to see
You
you.
as well.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So remind me, what was it that we covered during the last session?
With Matthew. Right? Yep, we've had Matthew St. John.
Lead
and
follow-ups.
And
Correct. So we are in the lead follow-up section, and session 12 was strengthening relationships, right? So just to recap, section 10, keep every lead, right? Systems and models for you guys to help make sure that once you've done the work of finding people to work with, that you're able to develop systems to maintain connection with those folks. Following up, what they say is the fortune is in the follow-up. Oh, you know what? I need to hit the record button.
I did.
You did?
Yep.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for remembering that. So the fortune is in the follow-up, guys. This is where the majority of we reap what we sow, right? So the majority of the fruit that you will harvest from the work that you're doing to fill your lead pipeline is going to be in that follow-up. Now, in doing follow-up, do you think that it's going to be important to make sure that you're sectioning out time every day to simply follow up with people you've already connected with?
For sure.
That's valuable, right?
Mhm.
So in addition to that, is it important for us to continue to find new people to add to our contact list and to add to that initial stage, right?
Yes.
Beautiful. So once we have those people in our database and we are working with them, staying connected with them, building trust, building a relationship with them, following up, then we get to really solidify those relationships. Why would it be important to solidify and strengthen the relationship with a potential client?
Well, one, so that you're there when they, you're top of mind, of course, when they think of whether they need to buy or sell.
That's the number one, right? I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with family members, even friends, people that I assume these guys have my back. Like they know what I do, right? They know what I do. I've been shouting it from the rooftops. I'm posting online all the time. They know. So I'm going to focus on these other people that don't know me quite as well. That was my logic originally. Do you think that I lost opportunities because I neglected the people who were closest to me? Yeah. Do you think that I got comfortable and eventually stopped reminding people about what I do or bringing it up in conversation? I did. Don't make that mistake. Yes, the majority of the people we work with are usually the ones that are closest to us. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we are TOMA, top of mind awareness. Okay. So what are some ahas that you guys had from the last session?
I like the fact that my mind is shifting here in Ignite to be more of course, we're relationship focused, but don't approach the conversations about real estate necessarily and coming from a place of just connecting.
Yeah.
And then maybe it'll just naturally come.
Ford. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Ford. What does that stand for?
Family,
Occupation,
vacation,
recreation.
dreams.
And dreams. I can't tell you how many times that served me.
Right.
Especially early on, I remember the overwhelming feeling of being responsible for some of the biggest financial choices that some of the people that were closest to me are going to make in some cases in their lifetime, this is the biggest thing that they're going to do financially. And not feeling like I was 100% prepared. And so making sure that we're like not getting lost in that, what was for me insecurity, right, and uncertainty. I knew I could do a good job. I knew I was going to get the answers to the questions that they had, even if I didn't have them up front. I had confidence in myself and my abilities, and yet I would still get in my head what they're going to ask me. What do I even talk about now? Do I just go straight to real estate? Because this is like my family member, so that feels kind of sterile to sort of jump into it. And so keeping in mind, you can always revert to family, occupation, recreations, dreams. How's your son doing, right? How's your dad doing? Haven't talked to him in a while. Yeah, it's been so long, right? How's work, right? What do you do for fun? Like, what'd you do this weekend? Let's go recreation, dreams. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see in your work? What do you see in your business? What do you see for your family, right? When we can start to connect at these deeper levels with people, it's going to greatly serve us in the work that we're doing for them. So as always, here at Keller Williams, we are going to issue a disclaimer. This is really, really important. I think it gets passed over a lot and not really talked about the why behind it. But a few years ago, Gary Keller, the owner of our company here at Keller Williams, paid out something like a $40 million lawsuit because of people getting called that were on the do not call list, or agents who were doing their lead generating activities in a TCPA compliant way. So make sure that the people that you are calling actually want to hear from us, right? Make sure that they're not on the do not call list. Always making sure that you're double checking your database and getting permission, oftentimes as often as possible, in writing if possible, to make sure that you have permission to contact them. We do everything with fair housing in mind. Don't spam your clients, and AI disclaimer, anything generated by AI needs to be verified. Okay, so make sure that you're going through and rereading the social media post sequence that you just asked ChatGPT to create for you. I know it sounds kind of funny and redundant, but make sure verify the information, because all it's doing is pulling stuff from the internet. We know how reliable that could be. All right, so here we are. We've gone through keep every lead, follow up and leads, or follow up with leads, strengthen relationships, and now we get to actually figure out how we're going to weed through all of the people that we're having conversations with and figure out who is the right people to spend time on. Do you remember the 80-20 principle? Right, 20% of the time that you spend will create 80% of the results that end up coming out the other end of the pipeline. And so we want to make sure that as our pipelines grow, we're spending the right amount of time on the activities that are going to yield you the highest return on your investment being your time, right? So here's what we're going to be covering today. We are going to go through identifying where and how lead generate, or how to lead generate for buyers and sellers, classify leads by ability and motivation, and qualify a buyer and seller in preparation for an appointment. Okay. What do you think happens on the appointment? Anybody in Zoom land? What do we think happens in an appointment? What's the purpose of the appointment?
To build that connection.
Deepen the connection? Absolutely. What else?
Get their motivations. I don't know.
Absolutely. Solidify motivations, make sure that you get a feel for the person. You can often tell by body language, are they leaning in? Are they leaning back? Where are we at in our relationship, and how do we move forward? The biggest reason that we want to take an hour out of our days and ask our clients to take an hour out of their days is so that we can sign an agreement. Okay, the whole purpose of the appointment is to sign the agreement. If one thing comes out of that meeting, a signed agreement is going to be a win. So this is all of the work that we do to make sure that we're qualifying the people that we want to spend time with. Would it be nice to go out with a friend who says that they might want to buy in a couple of years, to sort of chat about it and deepen a relationship? Would that be valuable time spent?
Sure.
Absolutely. And will it count as an appointment? It's very important that we get clear on what qualifies an appointment, right? Because we're tracking our numbers, right? We've gone over that. Number of contacts, number of appointments, number of right? And the contracts that are signed. We're tracking all of these things, and it's really important that we get clear on what qualifies a contact. Did I say the word? I said the words real estate in the conversation. I'm counting it as a contact. Whatever your system is, get really, really clear on what qualifies, right? As an appointment in particular, because that's where we're headed with all this information. Your number one job as a real estate agent is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers. It's by Gary Keller. That is your number one job, right? I had a good friend of mine who recently got licensed asked me the other day, what do I do, right? What do I do with my time when I don't have a laundry list of clients that I'm meeting with, when I'm not booked out on appointments, I don't have a ton of listings in the pipeline, what do I do? And I said, your number one job, this is, and this was from my experience, what I chose to do with early on in my career, is if I wasn't completely booked out on appointments, then my only job was to lead generate. I spent 8 to 10 hours, sometimes 13 hours a day, just on the phones, just outdoor knocking, just prepping and getting my open houses ready. Because until our pipeline is full with many people in different stages, it's going to be challenging for us to maintain stability in a commission-based industry. It's where most people have the most challenges. And again, referencing the 80-20 principle. So when we're new to something, it can be easy to get caught up in the misunderstandings that block us from moving forward and gaining momentum. So what are some misunderstandings that you guys have about buyers and sellers? No right or wrong answer, just in general. What are some thoughts or some concerns or some worries that you have about buyers and sellers in general? What's the obstacle that we're facing?
Well, I
Yeah,
can
go
say
ahead.
something about that.
Yeah.
Having been in the business in the past, with the new laws, my concern was that, now we were going to have a problem, when it came to the commissions.
Oh, and what do you mean by a problem?
Problem meaning that now we were going to have trouble with sellers wanting to pay commissions, and definitely buyers, saying, no way, I'm not paying a commission.
That's good. That's really, really good. I can, from personal experience, I remember when it came down the pipeline, my assumption was going to be, we've got buyers who get to pay 2 to 2.5% in closing costs. They get to pay 3.5% to 20% in a down payment, and now we get to ask them for an additional 3% to cover our fees, right? Or the stigma that because of the media and because of the way that everything was portrayed, sellers may posture themselves as if there's no chance, because why would I? Because look what just happened, right? And in reality, are you guys going to get paid?
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's from the buyer or from the seller, are you going to get paid? Yeah, right? Because otherwise, why would we invest our time in the job, right? If there's not going to be compensation at the other end. So again, pre-qualifying our buyers and sellers is a great opportunity for us to instill our value to the client before we ask them to sign on the dotted line. All the way up until this point, and I urge you guys to consider how well you're having conversations on the phone before you even set the appointment, right? How in-depth are we getting with people? How confident are we in our abilities? And how well are we communicating those abilities and our commitment to our clients to them before we get to the appointment? Because then by the time we get to the appointment, if I've done my job and I presented enough value, are they going to sign? They're going to sign. It's just a matter of helping them see the value in what you have to offer them, which is your time and your energy first and foremost, right? Knowledge base, experience, number of transactions, all of that notwithstanding. Is it going to support you in the future to have that in your back pocket? I've done over 350 transactions, right? I've helped move over $50 million in real estate in the last 5 years, right? Being able to say those types of things is powerful. And if I came with that information and attitude and disconnected energy and I don't have time for this mentality, are they going to trust me? No, they're much more likely to trust you if you come from an authentic, genuine, creative space. Be who you are, know what your strengths are as a person, and know that that you're gonna do everything it takes to make sure that they're taken care of, that their questions are answered, and that they feel confident in moving forward so that they feel good by the end of the experience. Because let's face it, each one of these clients that you're working with has the potential to be what we call a raving fan. And our raving fan is going to send business your way. Yes. Our raving fan is going to return to you when it comes time for them to buy an investment property, right? To develop their portfolio, to sell their house because their family is growing and they're excited to share the news with you, right? Like this is the potential of everything that we get to do in this business. And it's absolutely the best choice I've ever made in my life. It's definitely one of the most impactful things that I've ever done with my time. So. All right, so the National Association of Realtors is one of the greatest resources we have for statistics, okay? And so they like to send out surveys and questionnaires and consult with clients as they're going through the experience of buying and selling a home. And here's some information that they were able to collect about where buyers found their agents. What do we see up here?
Referral.
Referrals. Referrals from who?
Friends, relatives.
Friends, family, past clients, coworkers, the bank teller, the cashier at the grocery store. Really begin to expand your mind on what leads look like. Because we are interacting with people on a daily basis. And every one of those people, if we're willing to step into courage and authenticity, has the potential to feel us, to connect with us, and to remember us if ever and whenever it's time for them to make a move for someone that they care about. Is it important to you guys that your family and your friends are taken care of when they're doing anything, right? And if you had a name in your back pocket of someone that you really trusted, that you felt really good about, would you recommend them? Right? And would your friends and family usually go with that recommendation? Yeah. It's really simple. It really, really is really simple. It's just patience and time, right? Time on task over time. We've got an activity that we're doing every day to lead generate, to follow up with those that we're already in contact with, moving everybody towards the appointment stage. That's when they're ready, willing, and able, willing, and ready. All right. So yes, more buyers are finding their agents through referrals than any other source. Right? So when you're looking at where do I spend my time lead generating, oftentimes with the people who already know and love you. And what does this say about where sellers are found?
Referrals.
Referrals. We're noticing a trend here. Absolutely outstanding. So what do we do once we find a lead? Once we make a contact, once we establish a relationship, new or old, what do we do?
Guys, that's part of your homework. Track it in our CRM. Track the interaction.
Yep. First and foremost, we want to make sure that contact information is updated in command. Right? We always want to make sure that once this is a lot of the work is right here. Once we make the contact, right? Once we have someone's ear who wants to hear from us and is willing to build a relationship with us, the most important thing we can do is ensure that we're set up for success in follow-up. And the best way to do that is entering them into your CRM. Are any of you guys on Teams? Anybody else on a team?
Toby's on our team now.
Okay, perfect, beautiful. Solo?
No, with Matthew St. John.
Matthew St. John, okay. And do you guys use Command or what CRM do you guys use?
We use Follow Boss.
Follow Up Boss?
We use Brevity.
Brevity, perfect. Same concept, different system, right? We, I found a lot of success in leveraging Command as a CRM. And They all do pretty much the same thing in their own unique ways, and their value is the same. Right? It's so that we can make sure that we're maintaining connection with our people. So share with me, what are some ahas that you guys have had just so far?
How important referrals are.
How important referrals are, right? Well, where was our focus before we had that conversation about referrals and got to see the numbers on just how important they are?
And people who raise their hand.
Right. I'm reaching out to you. I registered on your website because I was interested in this property. I registered on your website because I saw a post and I wanted your newsletter, right?
Mhm.
Those are great. Those are great options, right? For connections and opportunity. And is it where we're going to get the most amount of our business? So is it where we should spend the majority of our time? Probably not. Probably not. Does it deserve some of our time? Yeah, it absolutely does. Absolutely does. It's the consistency in that activity. If we don't have an appointment, we have all the time in the world to be servicing every single contact in our database. All right, so now we're going to go over how to classify an able, ready, and willing buyer. You've heard the phrase ready, willing, and able? I know I've heard it for my whole life. But we really like the concept of able, ready, and willing. Even though all leads and contacts have potential, they are not all going to close on the home or on a home next month, right? And if you had a group of 100 people and you were in contact with all of them, and only 5 of them were actually going to be transacting in the next month, would it be valuable to spend the majority of your time helping to cultivate those potential deals? So then the process is about determining, are they willing, or are they able, are they ready, and are they willing, right? And that's a process that we get to go over today. So focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, and what you must do to get it. One of the most important parts of the contacts that we're going to be making and the conversations that we're having with potential buyers and sellers is all around our why. Forgive me, it's all about their why, right? We know what our why is. Now it's time for us to figure out where they're at. Why is now a good time to buy? Right? What was it about this property that led you to calling me today or registering on my website, right? Just asking these basic questions in order to get a better understanding of their why behind the action that led us to having this conversation. Maybe they mentioned to you in passing in a conversation. Well, how come you haven't done anything about that yet? You said that you wished you would have bought in 2019. Like, oh my gosh, me too. I wish I would have bought 7 properties in 2019 when interest rates were 3% and prices were $100,000 less expensive than they are today. And when you look at it on a graph over time, housing is one of the most consistent increases in value. It appreciates year over year, about 4% on average, right? That you can have. So as an investment, if we have financial holdings, if we have stocks and bonds and we're invested in mutual funds, it's also very important for us to maintain a tangible asset like real estate, because it will help create wealth, generational wealth for you and your family. So what is stopping you, right? What's been holding you back? What are some of our obstacles? I don't have the credit score I want. I don't have the down payment saved up yet. I want to make sure that I pay off my car beforehand. That's great. Why is it important to you to pay off your car before you apply for a mortgage? Whatever the answer might be, did you know that you may qualify? Maybe the fear is that I'm not going to qualify because I have that debt. Sometimes debt can be an asset for us when we're applying for a mortgage. And so just having those conversations and being the leader, the facilitator of their process of purchasing or selling a house can be really, really beneficial for everybody. So this quote doesn't just apply for us agents, it also applies for everyone, right? When buyers and sellers know what they want, when they want it, and what they need to get from it, when our role as an agent is clear, helping them find the property that they desire and close on becomes much, much more feasible. becomes possible for us to help them find that property that has that fenced in backyard for the new puppy. Right? So that our kids can run around in the backyard with the puppy. We don't have to worry about the dog running away. We're getting really clear on what that visual looks like is gonna be a really helpful process. Helps you visualize and remember what it is that they wanted, and it helps them visualize the end goal when things get bumpy. Because our transaction's bumpy. Have you guys ever, who's bought a house before? Bought or sold themselves, right? Was it flawless, no problems, everything was exactly as you expected it to be, and everything turned out, the seller was always agreeable? That's beautiful. That was not my experience. What about you, Tara?
Not my experience.
Not my experience, yeah.
No.
What was it that was most challenging about the transaction that you went through?
That when I bought my house.
Yeah.
We bought a short sale, so there was a bunch that went on with that, with the sellers trying to offload their home before it went into foreclosure, being unwilling to do any repairs and all the things, and
One, in a short sale situation, they may not be able.
they weren't.
Yeah,
They-
that's right. They may have, maybe they would have been like, whatever we need to do to sell this house, we'll do it. We
Yeah.
just can't afford to
I mean, we
pay
got
for
a great
it.
price on it, but yeah, there was a lot of contention.
There's always gonna be give and
We
take.
had some big things we had to fix.
Yeah. Was it worth it?
Yes,
Without
Well-
hesitation?
well, I don't have my home anymore because I got divorced, so it
Well,
was worth it at the time, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was.
absolutely.
Mhm.
No, that's beautiful. So. When we're determining an able, ready, and willing, or the willingness of a potential client, we emphasize come from curiosity. Come from curiosity. Why would we stress this?
I guess instead of coming from being like forceful, like in a way of like, you know, knowing that you want to help them out, but you're coming from a place where like you're also benefiting from it, but coming more so from a way of like really being there for their needs and getting them where they want to go.
Yeah. It's good. What else? Yeah.
It's like, kind of like going off of him, like, don't ask like, hey, what's your credit score? But like,
Mhm.
you can ask like different questions that's gonna get you the same answer, but it's coming from a place of like, you're being genuine about it and not
Yeah.
trying to be a sleazy salesman, you know?
Yeah, no, it's really, authenticity is really, really important, right? And that's what I mean when I use the word authenticity. It's come from your heart. Like you guys are, you know who you are, you're on solid ground. And you're just asking questions to see whether or not this is gonna be a good fit. Really is as simple as that. Is there a connection here? Do we vibe? Are we working well? Right? You know, coming from curiosity to me, it does help to get out of my head about the reason why we're on the phone. I need the appointment. I'm trying to get to the appointment. How do I get to the appointment? What does the appointment look like? Are these guys ready? Are they willing? Are they able? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Are we moving forward? And then not listening to what they're saying and coming from that curious place. Like I said, what is it that's been holding you back? My credit cards. I have too much debt. Awesome. Have you ever applied for a mortgage? Like, do you know for a fact that you have too much debt? Or is it possible that the debt that you currently hold is actually going to serve you in your credit score? Have you been making your payments on time? Asking all these questions to help get to the root cause of people's hesitation is going to deepen your relationship and give you so much clarity on the reasons why or how we're going to be able to take the next step. Because these issues that have come up for them that have prevented them from actually transacting, do you think that they're going to come up in the middle of the process? They will.
Mhm.
Without a doubt, they will. And are you going to be better prepared to help them through that rockiness if you've gone through this process of understanding coming from curiosity?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's really, the proof is in the pudding, guys. They don't own a home. The fact is they've wanted to own a home and they want to own a home. There are obstacles that nobody has been willing to support them through yet.
Mhm.
That's why they don't have a home.
Mm.
So when they get a home, they'll remember that guy or that gal that really connected with them and cared enough to figure out what it was that was holding them back from being their best selves, from achieving the goals that they say that they want. So able, Just wanted to make sure we didn't have drop downs that came out. Abel is a potential client, or potential client is financially and legally capable of completing a transaction now. Right? Potential client is financially and legally capable of completing a transaction now. Financially, we get that, right? They either qualify or they don't qualify. That's pretty simple. Legally, why would someone be legally prevented from purchasing or selling a home? Yeah,
Underage.
underage, they're 17, right? Well, when do you turn 18, bud?
Going through a divorce.
Going through a divorce, right? Well, I want to sell my house
I have
because
two buyers right now. that
we're in the middle of it.
We're waiting till it's
And we're
finalized.
in it, and I'm not talking to them, right? I haven't heard from them, and we need to get rid of this house. well-
And buying, you can't buy during a divorce either.
Correct. Yeah,
Yep.
interesting. So there are going to be obstacles like that. That brings up an opportunity that I had very recently with a client who wanted to buy something because he was getting a divorce. And all we did was line up the days. When's your court date?
Exactly.
Right? Because once you have the issuance of that certificate of dissolution or whatever it looks like, the divorce decree, once that has been stamped and sealed by the state of Alaska, you can then close on your home. So what we did was leading up to that, we knew when we could start shopping. Well, the court dates, it was April 15th is what it was. So as long as we close after April 15th, we can go under contract 45 days before that so that we can make sure that by the time we close, you've not only finalized the divorce and begun the new chapter of your life, here's your new property so that you don't have to live under the same roof, right? Like the whole thing worked out magically. And could I have waited? Could I have said, you know what? You're right. Let's wait until after everything's finalized before we even start the process. Could we have done that?
Mhm.
Would he have bought still? Yeah, he was very committed. He was very committed to the process. Right? What did it do for both of us that he had that property secured 5 days after his divorce decree?
Probably alleviated a lot of stress from him because he knew where he was going.
Yeah. Is there uncertainty in separation?
Mhm.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. So yeah, I was able to help support him through his divorce. When we're not, I mean, we weren't best friends, right? Like, it's not like he was emotionally turning to me and looking for support. And I was still able to facilitate the process to help him grow comfortable with the timeline, with the property, with the inspection, with the appraisal while he's going through everything else that he's going through. So that he had that safe space to go to when the time came. It was perfect. And the benefit for me was I got a commission 2 months early, right? And so, and I was able to free up all of the time that I would have spent helping him to prospect for new listings, prospect for new buyers. I was able to continue my process of lead generating and lead follow-up because I already had that one farther down into the pipeline. So now it was just general maintenance and making sure that we were doing check-ins and everything was all set for the move-in. It's good stuff. Ready, right? A potential client is motivated and prepared to make strategic decisions. So ready, that is a potential client that is motivated and prepared to make strategic decisions. What could get in the way of someone's ability to be motivated and prepared to make strategic decisions? Spouse? We're not on the same page. Right? I want to buy, she doesn't. I want to sell, he doesn't. What else? Job, time obstacles, if we're slope working, if we're deployed, if we're right, we have all these things that we want to achieve. And yet there's always going to be some kind of logistical or physical obstacle, sometimes occupational obstacle, that might hinder our abilities. Are there ways around all of this? Or is there always a solution? Yeah. We're solution-oriented people. This is why we have the confidence to step into a commission-based industry. Because we know we're going to figure out our mechanism to get across the room. We're going to figure out how to get from point A to point B. We know we can do that. And willing, a potential client is eager to buy, sell, or both. Now, how do we know they're eager?
They're engaged.
They're engaged. What else?
I wanna say they ask plenty of questions, like they are just engaging themselves in the process. And
Yeah.
really wanting to know.
If I'm on the phone qualifying a potential buyer, and by the end of the call, I say, okay, so your next step is to contact a lender and complete your application before we sit down for our appointment that we've already set. Are you confident and comfortable doing that? Client says, yes, great, we get to the appointment. And they didn't call the mortgage or the mortgage officer, or they didn't complete the application. Is that someone who's eager? Probably not. Granted, sometimes I've been like, hey, I can meet you in 30 minutes, right? Like sometimes those conversations happen because people are in situations where there's a lot of urgency. In which case I'll have that meeting. But in general, my own rule of thumb, we get to know what we're qualified for before we sit down for the appointment. Why would that be important?
Cause then you know what range you're really looking for in a home, so you're not showing them anything that's.
Yeah.
Even in their range.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times early, especially, and this is all lessons learned, guys, but especially early on in my career, where I was so eager and excited myself that I met with people who weren't qualified. And then we said, well, what's your dream house look like? Let's talk about that, because what agent doesn't want to talk about your dream house? Especially when we know what price it's going to be attached to. And once they paint that picture and we start looking around online and they're getting attached to these $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes while they're dreaming, do you think it's going to be a bit of a shock when they get their qualification back and they cap out at 350? Is that going to be a big adjustment for them to say, wow, so I've been looking at all these homes, now I get to consider these homes? You think that's discouraging?
Mhm.
It can be. It can be. Some buyers are pretty fast and loose on their feet, and they're like, well, shifting gears, I guess we're not getting that 4,000 square foot house, we're gonna have to go with that 1,500 first. And they're great about it, and they have great energy about it, and yet, there's still opportunity that I could have as the agent, as the facilitator of their process, been in control of to help make sure that they're not let down before we even start shopping. This getting pre-qualified is so crucial because it helps set expectations for both you and your clients about what's possible.
Well, in this market, things are moving so fast, you almost have to have that walking in a house, because if they wanna write an offer, you need to do it today.
100%. And remember, guys, everything that we're doing, all these conversations leading up to the appointment and even after the appointment when we're going on showings, is to set the context for what market we're in. Do buyers want a great deal in a house?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah, they do. Do sellers want to make the most amount of money possible on the sale of their home?
Absolutely.
Abso-freaking-lutely they do. And they will always be at odds. Especially depending on the market. It's our job to help set expectations about what they're going to experience, so they're not surprised when you push back on them wanting to place an offer 10% below the market value of the property. When you know that this property that just came on the market is going to have multiple offers. Do you want to spend time writing an offer that you know is not going to go through? What's the point? Ready, willing, and able, guys. They've got to be there. And it's our job to figure out whether or not they are. Is it okay if they're not? Heck yeah, what do?
Let them get their touch.
We keep in touch, we help them get there, that's exactly it. That's where lead follow-up comes into play. Yeah, I talked to the lender said that I need to pay off this credit for this one card. Once I pay this card off, then I'm gonna be qualified. That's awesome. Is that an A buyer? If we were to classify A, B, and C, is that an A buyer? Are they ready, willing, and able right now?
Well, no, they're
No,
not.
right? Are they motivated? Are they excited? Are they engaged? Maybe that's a B buyer. Someone who says, I want to buy 2 years out, we may want to classify them as a C buyer and keep in touch with them once a month or so, right? Once a quarter. You get to figure out what that timeline looks like for you and what your flow looks like. So in session 11, convert possible business into profitable business, we covered how to convert leads to appointments. Then in session 12, nurture relationships, we covered staying in a relationship and contacts who are not ready to transact today. Okay. When we say someone is ready or is able, ready, and willing and motivated to do business soon, those are A buyers. Once again, we go over the concept of A, B, and C. These are really, really good frameworks to operate within. And so I would encourage you, if you have a section, if it's not already in your book, go ahead and write these down. So an A buyer or seller is able, ready, and willing to do business in the next 0 to 14 days. I need to be moving to that house yesterday, Will. I need your help. B, a B buyer seller is able, ready, and willing to do business in the next 15 to 60 days. And a C buyer is able, ready, and willing to do business in the next 61 plus days. Do you think it would be smart to have a system for each one of these?
Mhm.
A different system, right? They're on different timelines, right? They're gonna require a different level of attention. They're gonna require different bits of information. Someone who's working on improving their credit score, do you think it would be advantageous to send them an email and say, hey, here are a couple of tips. Pull it on ChatGPT, verify the information, but you don't have to be the expert in absolutely every facet of this business. We can also call our lender partners and say, hey, what is something that they could be doing to help improve their credit score? You've seen it, you know what it looks like, they've submitted their application to you. What's your advice? You could get it from multiple sources. And do you think it would be valuable to provide that to them as an extra touch? It absolutely would. Would it make sense to send that to someone who's qualified and ready to go shopping today? No, right? So having a different system for category A, B, and C buyers is going to greatly serve you. Your teams and your CRMs that you guys are in right now may very well have those already in place. I would recommend talking to your rainmaker or talking to a member of leadership here, either Sharon or Brian, about what that system could look like or what works for them. Or reach out to any one of us, right? That's one of the things I love about this company in particular is that we are so open with all the information and the success systems that we've created.
Mhm.
So why do we do AHAs? What's that? What is this about? What is the real purpose behind AHAs? Taking time to make sure that we're noting those.
Getting those discussions.
Reflection.
Reflection. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I might have thought of something that, you know, somebody else didn't, and me saying it is like, oh, now that's their aha.
Yeah. It can be edifying, right? To hear that we're not alone, for sure. Does it do so? Even we can have an internal aha, right? Is there value in speaking that out loud for us? Right? I have thoughts going all the time in my head, and I'm such an external processor. I'm a verbal processor that my best friend who lives in Washington, she'll often say, I miss hearing you process because I will just talk out loud. I will talk out loud to myself. And sometimes the things that have been reeling in my head, once I say them out loud, I hear how actually ridiculous they are, right? It works the same in the opposite. When we have an aha that is really profound for us, even if it's something that we think is a small notice, when we speak it out loud, it is our truth. We hear it, our subconscious hears it, and it's something that it kind of gets a little pin in all of the thoughts that we have as something to remember. So I encourage you, and of course, it supports our team members, all of us in this room together, to hear some of the ahas that other people have had. So what are some ahas that you had about ready, willing, and able buyers and sellers?
I mean, having the definitions are helpful. And
Yeah.
I've seen, everyone on my team do the boards of A, B, and C buyers, but I never really knew what that meant. So
Yeah.
now I have more of a defining, framework for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What
I would
else?
say just reminding myself to come from curiosity.
Yeah. Why was that important for you?
Knowing that, we want to go out there and be active and have as many clients as we can and really get into it, but like, I feel, cause I've been doing this for a little bit, I've been doing this for 4 years now, and so like, going from back home to a complete different market up here and seeing how aggressive it is, like, so that makes me wanna push harder, but also like coming from a space that's personable in the same breath, so like making sure that I stay in that space and like, don't get lost in the sauce.
Yeah,
Mhm.
get really, really clear on what you're looking for. are we gonna ask our clients to get really, really clear about what they're looking for?
Mhm.
So it stands to reason that we would walk the talk. Yeah, walk the talk. We get to do it too. It's good stuff. What else? Any other ahas?
I was gonna say, I like, I've always said like ready, willing and able.
Yeah,
So I like the switch up here because it makes more sense.
yeah,
Like, they might be ready, but if they're not able, it doesn't matter. So you gotta see if they're
Exactly.
able to do it first.
Yep.
Or you can really go down the process.
again, a portion of the able is, are you financially well suited, right? Because that's can be oftentimes, everyone has wants and dreams. And a lot of the time, the finances can be what gets in the way.
Mhm.
So it gets to be the first place that we start. It's awesome. Any other ahas? Anybody in Zoom land?
Yeah, just being
mhm.
a new realtor. So my husband and I have bought and sold quite a few houses, being in the military and moving around, and just seeing like first time we bought a house, being able, we were not financially able, and just knowing that our realtor took the steps to guide us in what we needed to do, and just seeing that, okay, that's here, and visualizing what we went through, and now knowing what I need to do.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. Was there someone else that was gonna speak as well?
Yeah, well, I just wanted your opinion on something. Pre-qualified as opposed to pre-approved. I remember I was always taught that pre-qual obviously is not the same as pre-approved. And then the second part of the question is 90% letters. Are we still doing that?
Yes, and you're absolutely correct. A lot of times those terms are used interchangeably, and they do mean slightly different things. Someone who is pre-qualified is eligible for a 90% letter, right? That 90% meaning the lender has verified that they are 90% confident, 90% sure that we're going to be able to close on a transaction. What's the extra 10%? The property, right? We're missing a property here. So they've checked and verified some of the buyer's financials, and they're able, right, to actually make a purchase. Now we need the property to make sure that the property falls within the conditions of the loan type in order to make sure that it qualifies to purchase.
Thank you for defining that for me, because I
Yeah.
had that question yesterday.
Absolutely. Now, pre-approval is something a little bit deeper than just pre-qualification. When someone is pre-approved, usually, and this is a little bit different for all lenders, so they have their own process, but usually what pre-approval means is that they've gone through some version of pre-underwriting review. So they've not just reviewed the numbers, punched into the system, and the system punched out a green thumb. It's actually getting the underwriter who's going to review their file once they have a property and appraisal and all the reports that come with it. To set eyes on their financials to say, yep, we don't have any questions about their employment. We don't have any questions about their income, their debt to income ratios, their credit score. Everything looks like it should be good as long as they keep their job, as long as they don't make any huge financial investments, and as long as we find the right property. This is a really good question. Did that help?
Yes, thank you. And I have one tidbit too that I know you'll attest to this.
Please.
That happened to me years ago. I didn't tell the buyer about that. I didn't even think about it that they would actually go and buy a vehicle, right before closing. And then they did. And then the loan originator's like, no, this changes everything. And literally the deal fell through because of that.
Bless your heart. I have been in your shoes myself. I actually, my experience was the terror of pulling up to the closing, sitting outside, waiting for my client to arrive, and they arrive in their brand new Mercedes. We wanted to celebrate our new house. So we went out and bought a car yesterday. I said, that's amazing. I'm so excited for you. Did you pay cash? No, they did not. Once we get to the very, very end of the process for a buyer or a seller, what the title company and the lender, well, the lender primarily is going to do is going to make one more round of calls. They're going to do one more verification check on their finances and on their credit. they're going to make sure at the very last minute that these guys are still the same people that they said they were on their application, that they've already verified. And if anything, any hiccups come up, anything shifts or changes, depending on how much it changed, you might not close today. We might get to go back into underwriting review because your credit score dropped below the limit. And we need to see if we can get an exception.
And we had that happen, or I had that happen. I had a client who was a seasonal worker and had 2 different seasonal jobs, and they knew that going into it.
Yeah.
But right before closing is when summer switched, and he switched from his winter job to his summer job, and they're like, you're currently
Yeah.
like 2 weeks unemployed, so we're gonna have to wait until you're back into your summer job to start verifying again. Like, it was a nightmare, so it wasn't fun. It almost fell through because of that.
Yeah,
It didn't, we got to close, but still, it
good.
was a lot.
You figured out a way.
We did.
Again, are there obstacles that are gonna come up, guys? Is there always a way to get through it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot easier if you're able to help your client keep a cool head during it.
That was a big part of it too.
Again, and they will always fall back on, they will lean on you if you've created a space for them to lean. So the importance of of these initial conversations, pre-qualifying these buyers and sellers is paramount because it sets the context and the tone for the entire experience they're gonna have with you. Do I feel like they're open and they feel like they're not being honest with me about something? So I get to be courageous. Because if I say, well, they're just not comfortable talking to me about something, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna keep doing my job and keep on keeping on because that's the easier choice to make, it will come back and bite me. When I get to that moment and they still don't feel confident enough to lean into me, they're gonna withhold information, you're gonna get surprises, they're gonna get surprises, and all of a sudden, there goes your commission, there goes their house, there goes that sale, and in some cases, there goes a little bit of our reputation. Because we're working with someone else on the other end. And sometimes that can be damaging. So. Spend the time where time matters. Deepen those relationships, be consistent. With able, ready, willing framework in hand, we are almost ready to qualify potential buyers and sellers. What we need now are the questions and conversations starters that will help us determine who is able, ready, and willing. In this section, we are going to cover how to use the buyer lead sheet and pre-listing. So why qualify, right? In the last section, we started with win-win of qualification. So our potential clients win because we provide them with the right value at the right time. And we win because we get to focus our attention on helping clients who are ready to buy or sell. Like I said before, you can spend a lot of time focused on filling the pipeline at the forefront. And once you get to a certain point, you get to prioritize your time where people are wanting to move with urgency. Right? We get to make sure that we have classifications for each person. So we use the same buyer qualification process for all our buyers and the same seller qualification process for all our sellers to make sure we are always in compliance with fair housing regulations and to make sure, again, that we're creating a replicatable process. Right? Asking some questions of one buyer and different questions of another buyer is going to make it more challenging for us to identify who's an A, who's a B, and who's a C. So as long as we're consistent with that information, we should have a slam dunk. So let's go ahead and turn to qualifying buyers. This is the buyer lead sheet. You guys all have a copy of that in front of you? There's some really, really good information on this. Right? And in this section, it tells me to role play. But what I'm going to do is we're just going to go through each one of these questions and see if there are any questions that you have about why it's important for that information to be in. Is it important to get the name? Will you need a full legal name? And this is important. Some people go by Bree when their name is Brianne. Right? Do we want their legal name on the contract?
Yes.
Why is that important?
Legally binding.
It's legally binding. And is the title company gonna take the name that's written in the contract and put it into title?
Yes.
So we don't want, BJ Johnson when their name is Benedict Jordan Johnson as the official owner of the property, right? So it's important at the forefront to make sure that you know what their legal name is, even if you think you know what it is. Oftentimes, this is my best opportunity to get clarity around how to spell someone's name that I don't understand. I know your name. Could you go ahead and spell it for me so I make sure I get it right in the contract? When it comes time for us to write, I want to make sure that your name is represented exactly how you want it in the title to the property. Email, current street address, children's names. Why would we ask for children's names?
Just to, do your checkups, like, hey, how's Billy doing?
Yeah, build that rapport.
This is perfect, guys. This is a sheet. You could call it a script if you want, of the questions and the guidelines and the general direction that you're going to take the clients. Is this also an opportunity to deepen a relationship?
For sure.
Heck yeah, it is. Do you have kids? I didn't even ask you before. That's amazing. How many kids do you have? What are their names? What are their birthdays? I would love to send them a card or have our system automatically email a notice, right? Whatever our system is going to look like, so that we can make sure that those little touches. When someone says happy birthday to me, it's wonderful. It feels great. I feel gratified and seen. When someone says happy birthday to your niece, Will, I know it's her birthday today. Does that hit different? Yeah, it does. Oh, you really see me. You really listen when I talk to you about that. That my niece's birthday is, well, it's a week from today. She's turning 16, so. So yes, that's incredibly valuable to have that information and to use it as a cue to deepen a relationship with someone, to find out information about somebody that's going to help deepen their connection and their loyalty and their trust in you. Do we tend to trust people that see us and hear us more than the people who we think are just trying to get something from us? Heck yeah. I know I do. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Some people don't want a phone call, guys. Some people are more than happy to get your text. Just send me a text. Just shoot me a text. I never check my emails. Why would you send me something over email? All these things are from experience. These have all happened to me. I sent you an email. You didn't get that? No, I never checked my email. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, we needed an answer today. So now this thing that I gave them a week to prepare for, I'm now demanding an answer today because I didn't ask a question on the onset. So get clarity around what is the best way? What is the best time? No, I work nights, man. No, I'm not going to respond in the evenings. No, I'm not available for showings in the evenings. What's the best time for us to connect? Has an agent taken you out to show property at all, right? What would this be an indicator of? In today's market for a buyer, what would this be an indicator of? Yes, I've won a contract. Can we show houses to buyers that we do not have signed a buyer's representation agreement?
No.
We are not legally allowed to. Yeah.
I have a question about that. A guy went on Matt's, I think, website and was asking about some stuff.
Yep.
And Matt sent it to me. I gave him a call. He's from South Carolina. He wants to move up almost into Talkeetna and whatnot. He was asking questions on the property. And it hit me like, as we were having a conversation, like I was trying to pull it up on MLS. And I was like, are you working with an agent? He's like, yeah, I have an agent. I was like, where's your agent? Like, who is it? And wouldn't give me her name, wouldn't give me the phone number, but was like, she's busy a lot and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know. And I told him this too, like, I was like, hey, like, I'm a new agent.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep in conversation I can go with you.
Yeah.
Because you are under contract with somebody. His only question really was like, is there a road to the house? And I was like, well, the address is 828 Mill Road, Alaska. So.
Stop. No, keep going. That's funny.
Yeah, so I was like, no, sir, there is no road.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And then like that was the end of the conversation, but
Yeah.
like, I didn't know how deep I could go with him.
So first and foremost, did you ask the question, have you signed an agreement with that agent?
I asked if he was under contract with another agent.
Okay, that's another good way to ask a question. And you said yes.
He said yes.
Okay, cool. Then usually the conversation for me would stop there.
Okay.
I would say, that's amazing. I would love to answer your questions, but I don't want to step on your agent's toes.
I did say that.
Good.
And I was like, if you want, I can reach out to your agent and send her this information
Man after my own heart.
and
Yeah,
like I want to help you, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I can. But I can contact your agent and be it that way.
so what Luke just did there was beautiful. Was that just instinctual? No
Yeah,
motivation
that was-
behind it, it was just, I'm here to
I'm
help.
trying to get sued.
Yeah, right, well, and I'm
Just
here
got-
to serve, I'm here to help, I'm here to support, even if I know it's not gonna result in dollars in my bank account.
Mhm.
So let me see what I can do. Going that extra mile, do you think if there was a rocky point in the relationship with him and his current agent? Do you think people would remember the guy who stepped out of his way and went out of his way to help make sure that he was connected with the answers that he sought? Yeah. You don't know what's gonna happen with these relationships, and you don't know oftentimes what kind of training the agents on the other ends of things have received. So maybe they don't have the rapport that we build with our clients. So it's important not to come from a place of, well, I hope that falls apart and they remember me, but coming from that genuine, authentic place of service and curiosity. Well, how else can I'm not gonna be able to answer your questions at this time, simply because I don't wanna step on anybody's toes, and you do have a representative that will be able to represent the information that you're requesting, and that's really what you're doing.
Mhm.
So in any answer to any question, you are representing expertise to answer someone's questions or to answer someone's inquiry, right? And so we want to make sure that we are not answering any questions whenever that's the case. Would I be representing this information if I delivered that question? Yes. Yes, I would. What lender should I use, right? Stuff like that, where it's like, well, that's me and my opinions and my knowledge. You deserve to have the knowledge and the information from the agent that you've trusted enough to sign on with. And I don't want to step on their toes, is the most common phrase as well. That's good. Is there anybody else buying the home with you? If you need to know. You need to know if there's anyone else on the loan application, if there's going to be anyone else on the contract. Why else is this an important question to ask?
They need to be on a buyer's rep as well.
Correct, right? The goal of pre-qualifying a buyer, and I should say qualifying a buyer, right? We're not the lender, so qualifying the buyer is so that we can make sure that by the time that we get to the end of our conversation, we're setting an appointment. What's the purpose of the appointment? Remember?
To get a buyer's rep signed.
To get the agreement signed, right? Is an agreement useful if only 50% of the decision makers are on it?
No.
Yeah.
So I had a recent thing happen where a buyer I'd been working with. And his girlfriend worked a different schedule, so she didn't see the properties with us, but I'd been working with him for a while. And he called me when we had a buyer's rep signed, and he called me, he's panicking, and he goes, she just signed a buyer's rep with someone else. It's like today, and I said, okay, well, these are, you can terminate in writing, like that's just how these work. So if you have her put it in writing that she doesn't wanna work with this person anymore, and she's terminating that agreement, we can sign her onto ours and move forward, and that's what we ended up happening, but it was like really kind of precarious, he was freaking out, he's like, we can't like move forward and do all these things, but. Yeah, it was just gotta be careful with that kind of stuff.
Another version of an obstacle that we might run into. Did Tara find a way?
Oh, yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we're under contract on the house, so.
And is that client, do you know for sure that you're doing a great job for him?
I
Do you
feel
know-
like I am.
Do you know for sure that the other agent would have?
No,
We don't know, guys. We just don't know what they're going to receive. And if they're uncertain enough, and there's a lot behind this, right? If they're uncertain enough that they're willing to terminate with someone that they've already signed with in order to connect with someone that they feel a deeper connection with and that they're gonna trust more, is that a win for you guys? Is that a win for the client? Yeah, you're not pulling them away from anything. What you've done is, for me, if I was the agent that had already signed with them and they let me go, that's feedback for me. I'm not gonna vilify anybody for stealing a client. I didn't do a good enough job of instilling my value and connecting with this client at a deeper level to create the bond that will keep them with me.
and she did ultimately get to make that decision as the buyer.
Yeah.
And she decided she did want to sign
Absolutely.
with us, and
These people are making the biggest financial investments oftentimes in their entire lives. Do you think it's important that they trust the person they're working with? Do you think that it's important for them to like the person that they're working with? Yeah. This isn't just a transaction. This is an opportunity to build a relationship. That's really what we're doing here. So, who will be living in the home with you, right? Another opportunity to see, well, yes, we talked about my kids, we talked about my marriage and the other person that's gonna be on the loan,
Dogs, yeah, that's.
our dogs, our
Mhm.
pets, our cats. My mom's gonna be moving in with us because my father just had, like, all those kinds of things won't come up unless you bring them up by asking these types of questions. How long have you been looking for a home? This will give you some indications, again, right? Able, ready, and willing. We're really looking to answer those three questions for ourselves to know what category to put them in. I'm curious, why are you moving? Why is now the right time? I'm getting a divorce. Wow, that's really good information for me to have. Someone who's going through that experience and just speaking with you for the first time, are they going to be comfortable to just willingly give that information if it's not asked? Might be a challenge to get that information. So we ask the question, why is now the right time? Gives us some indication on what's going on in their lives that's causing this to be a right now thing. Are you renting or do you currently own? Please ask this question. Please, 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 for multiple reasons, like, yes, logistically, selling a house and buying a house at the same time. I need to know that information as your agent. Your lease doesn't end until September. Wow, there may be some opportunity for us to talk to the landlord then and see if we can get out early. Are there any penalties? What's our restrictions there? So that could actually affect their ability to be an able, ready, and willing buyer. Is that an obstacle that you can overcome with them?
Mhm.
Can you support them in overcoming it? Yeah, you absolutely can. If we don't know about it, if we don't have 100% clarity around it, then it becomes an obstacle that's immovable because we don't have clarity. Come from curiosity. Come from curiosity. If they own their home, that's the fun part. This is where it's sometimes, like earlier on in my career, I can remember getting to this point and being like, like, do I switch gears right now? Into like, I've done it. Like I'm in the middle of my going through my intake sheet for my buyers. And I shift gears because now they need to sell a house. I'm like, well, we were in buyer mode. Like, let's go over here into seller mode. Actually, do you have an agent? Are you working with someone? Have you signed yet? Do you have the house on the market? Do you know, have you had anybody come by and tell you how much it's worth? Would it be important for someone who needs to sell a house and is going to buy a house to know what they're going to make off of it? Yeah, it could be a game changer for people, especially if they're just blithely unaware. I have no idea. Bought it 15 years ago for $100,000, you know? You're like, wow. Have you paid attention to the market at all? Like any, media review, anything about inflation? Because your house is worth 350,000 now, and they had no idea that they had $300,000 worth of equity sitting in there. Could that change what kind of property they're looking for when they buy?
Mhm.
Heck, yeah. At the very least, it can give them a layer of comfort in knowing that moving forward isn't as huge of a thing to do, right? What I mean by that is if you've got $200,000 in the bank, your down payment is 20,000. Are you gonna feel more comfortable about buying that $400,000 house knowing that you'll have $180,000 sitting in your bank account still? Yeah, it creates a layer of security and safety for people. And again, knowing the answers to these questions is going to help you know what to do next. So if you get to that point, that's great. I would ask, do you have a listing agent for that yet? Because that would be valuable information while we're going through the consultation process. Does your lender know that you need to sell the house first? Sometimes people are like, yeah, I absolutely have to sell this house. I could afford to carry 2 notes and I could afford 2 mortgages for a little while, but I definitely need to sell this house first. Well, do we know that for a fact? Have you talked to the lender about it? Would it be more comfortable for you for us to find a house to buy, list your house for sale, and write an offer that is not contingent on the sale of another home, right? Like going through these questions gives them an advantage in a market that has been a seller's market for many years. It helps them know, and where they can gain an advantage when negotiating. Do we know what a contingent offer is?
Mhm.
Yeah, so this offer is contingent on the sale or lease of another property, right? So to a seller, if they're reviewing 2 offers, because we know multiple offers are very common still, If they're reviewing two offers, one of them is contingent on the sale of a house, one of them is not contingent on the sale of another house. Which one has less risk?
Non-contingent.
Non-contingent offer. So even though this contingent offer is offering $10,000 more, they don't even have their house on the market yet. We don't know if it'll ever sell. So I'd rather be on a faster timeline with more certain buyers, right? So again, knowing the answers to these questions are important for multiple reasons. Finish out your buyer consultation and then decide on how you're going to proceed with the seller questionnaire. And we'll get to the seller questionnaire next. Are there any questions in Zoom? Okay. I'll ask periodically, feel free to come off mute. I'll say that again, come off mute if you do have any questions and you're on Zoom. I do not want to overlook. I just have the I have the visual of your faces and your little videos off so that we can see the slides in the room. So I can't see if you're raising your hand, is my point. Are you going to be paying cash or getting a mortgage for the purchase? Never assume. I've met more millionaires wearing Carhartts and 30-year-old flannels than I have wearing three-piece suits. Never assume that the person that you're talking to can or cannot afford anything. Come from curiosity, right? And when you treat those human beings like human beings and not like a walking wallet, they'll make note of it. Because I can tell you for sure, the high-end clients who are millionaires are used to being treated and doted on like they're a giant walking wallet.
Well, even you'd be surprised, I had my first transaction was an assumable loan. And it was a first time home buyer, and so I had to explain to her, you know, for this assumable, you have to pay the difference, which was like 170,000. She's like, okay, that's fine. Not a problem. First time home buyer in her early 20s. She had an inheritance that she got. You just never know. I was surprised. Like, okay.
Interesting. So what are some ahas that you guys have from the buyer questionnaire so far?
I would say, you know, how thing is like some of this, like good amount of these questions are kind of like, you just like, I personally like subconsciously ask these questions.
Yeah.
Like even talking to like buddies of mine that are somewhat interested, like we're just having a general conversation and it's just like, I answered over half of these questions already.
I'm gonna give you guys a little cheat sheet.
Like the mantra in our office. Help you, mama.
Are you always going to have easy access to a stack of these questions?
No.
Always, 100% of the time, no matter what, I always have it. Is it always, are you gonna have random conversations? Would you like a tool that can help support you in getting through the general questions that you need to get to the appointment? Will that support you? So one thing that I learned early on in my career is LP Mama. Okay. Location. Make sure, can you guys see it in Zoom? Or need to get closer? Is that better? Location, where would you like to buy? Are you, like I saw, you know, I noticed you mentioned that property was in Wasilla. Are you open to Palmer? Are you open to Houston? Like, where are your limitations? Let's get real clear on where we're buying. Price. Have you gotten pre-qualified yet? Right? Have you really, what's the price range? I noticed that the property you asked about was about 350,000. Is that where you'd like to stay? Are you open to higher or lower? What have you guys been seeing? Right? Mortgage. Have you talked to a loan officer yet? Or how will you be paying for this home? Would you like to go cash or financing? I never like to assume. Oh, you haven't talked to anyone yet. Great. Do you have anybody in mind? No, you don't. Wonderful. Would you be open to me sending you a couple of lenders that I enjoy working with? I've had good experiences with them. I trust them. They trust me. And sometimes they go the extra mile for my clients. Would that serve you? Great. I'll make sure I text that over to you. Have you viewed any houses yet? Oh, you have? That's great. Are you working with that agent consistently? Did you guys sign an agreement before you went into that house? Sometimes the answer's still no, guys. Right? Just because it's a part of law doesn't mean that everybody always does what they're supposed to do. So just because they viewed a house does not necessarily mean that they have a signed agreement, though it's safe to assume. It's always better to ask. Wow. Motivation. How soon are you looking to be moved in? In a perfect world, when would you be moving into your new home? Right? Able, ready, willing. What's the final one? What do you think?
Appointment.
Freaking nailed it, man. Oh, you guys use this.
We use
Yeah.
LP.
Ah! I was like, yes, I'm gonna drill this into the ground, guys. The whole reason that we are qualifying these buyers and sellers is to set a freaking appointment. Set the appointment. You do all of the work to get to this point. Like, don't cut yourself short and don't cut the client short on the value that you can create for them by not setting the next steps. Could an appointment after the initial qualifying conversation be a follow-up call? Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be. Does it count as an appointment when we're recording our numbers? That's up to you guys. I'd like, honestly, your teams have their own definitions of what qualifies as an appointment and what doesn't. Do you guys report numbers out? Ish. You keep track of them at least, right? If for nothing else, for you and for the accountability of your mentor. Yeah. So this is something that's really, really served me, and sometimes I have a notepad in my car. That's about as much as I have with me all the time. I have some kind of notepad, something to write with and a piece of paper. And I will literally write down LP Mama so that I don't forget when I'm developing rapport, because that's where I turn to. Like, I immediately go into rapport building. And I would love to hear about your dog. What kind of dog do you have? I have a husky. She's hell. Like, she's absolute hell, and she will tear it up and she doesn't listen. And oh, you have a dachshund. Like, oh my gosh, little wiener dog. Like, that's so cute. What'd you name him? Like, I love that portion of the connection and the building rapport process. And I will be like, wait a minute. So focusing back on what we're really here for. Like, what was that price range again? Yeah. So that's something that served me a lot, was to have LP Mama handy. Cool. So now we get to talk about touch plans. So communicate with your database, 19 to contact, 36 to convert. There are lots of tools, right? And like I said, most teams have some type of a 36 touch process, right? That's a number of emails that go out in sequence. It's a smart plan, an auto email drip campaign that you can put people on so that they are constantly feeling you and seeing you come into their inbox. And so these are really, really important processes and parts of your follow-up systems. So this is the general guideline: 19 to contact, so 4 touches quarterly. Phone calls, that's 12 touches monthly. Email, newsletter, market report, video of some kind. 2 touches, promotional video, promotional direct mail, such as a magnet, a calendar, printed market. These are all systems that have worked for a lot of realtors that are producing millions in income. 1 touch annually, right? Or a 36 touch for someone that you may not have met yet, who doesn't actually know you and may need a little bit more of a reminder that you're here and that you're always ready to help. So that's why the difference between a 19 and a 36. And again, you notice how these are add B and C buyers to these plans, right? And that's an important logistical piece, just because if you're out showing houses with someone and you put them on the C buyer smart plan and they receive an email that clearly says something about getting into the process, I mean, it can sometimes be alienating for a buyer to say, wow, like, you're spamming me, and like, I'm out shopping with you, dude. Like, I don't need that extra junk. And so anything that can attach a negative connotation to your communication with them, we just want to be safe. Once you close with a client, would it be smart to put them on a 36 touch plan? Yeah, statistically, every 5 to 7 years, buyers and sellers move. They transact in real estate on average about every 5 to 7 years. In Alaska, we're about every 3 to 4. Why is that? So it happens more often than you think. I'm helping someone sell a house that I helped them buy last year because life changed. And as soon as we closed, I hit smart plan, make sure that they're getting those touches from me, that they see me, that they remember that I'm still here. And lo and behold, they called me when it became time. Because were they on my radar? No, they just bought last year.
Right.
I'm like, it's not normal, and it happens. So this is all a part of all of the time and energy that you guys are gonna spend on your daily activities and building your pipelines. As long as you have the systems to support you, you shouldn't have to go back and do a lot of things over again. Let the system work for you while you're out working to fill the system. Okay? Good. Ah, the fun one. Now we get to go on to qualifying sellers. We qualify seller leads with a pre-listing questionnaire that helps us build relationship with the 6 connecting questions and classify our potential sellers as A, B, or C. Our listing or our pre-listing questionnaire will also help us create a pre-listing packet that wins the listing agreement by focusing on the seller's motivations. We're doing the same exact thing with the seller that we do with our buyers. We are building that rapport. We are making sure that this initial conversation with all of these questions we ask, that there is depth, that we come from curiosity, that we are authentic when we are speaking with them, because people can feel that authenticity. So let's go through some of these questions. Name, we've already covered that, right? Email, home address, appointment date. You could start there. You could start with awesome. When would be a good time for me to come by? I personally like to hold until the very, very end to ask that question, because when someone asks me for an appointment and I give them a date or a time, that is my verbal commitment and agreement to go on this appointment with them. To me, after I have just asked for, if they've only asked me for my name, my phone number, my email, and my home address, and then they go straight to booking the appointment, I don't know that there's value here yet. Like, I don't know if we're gonna have an appointment. For me, could be anybody. So you could ask the question and you may get the answer that you're looking for, and still go through these questions, still build the rapport, and also help set yourself up for success by knowing what their motivations are. So, how did you hear about me? It's kind of a loaded question. If they reached out to you to sell their house, it's a good question to ask. If you found them, then you get to ask. So I called you because you had requested more information through Zillow Leads or through our system, or you'd responded to a market report email that I had sent out, right? What is it that you're looking for in an agent? What is it that you're looking for the agent to do for you? What's really important to you? We get to ask those questions. Where are you moving? Right? I'm moving to South Carolina. Sure, that's amazing. What do you plan on doing when you get there? Are you guys gonna rent? Are you gonna buy? Because I have again, Keller Williams, we have just under 200,000 agents across the world in something like 58 different countries. Usually you'll be able to find someone to assist them that has received this kind of training. Would it be valuable for you to hand a referral to someone and have what kind of training they got?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna greatly serve you. Because like we already said, we don't know what kind of service any other agent is going. All I know is that I'm going to do a great job. I know I'm gonna drive it home for you. There are many agents out there that also do that. They really do. I just don't know what service you're going to get. The only time I ever really know what service you're gonna get is when I'm the one that's providing it. So I'm happy to assist you. I'm also happy to assist you or support you in finding an agent in that local area, because I'm not licensed down there. Would it be valuable to you, Mr. Seller, if I, as the real estate professional, interviewed agents for you in the area that you're going to be going to? The answer is 100% of the time, yes. That would be great, actually, because I don't even know what questions to ask them. You know what I mean? Then you can also build a referral network. You can build those referrals going back and forth between bases, between common areas where there are Amazon warehouses and people transferring, or I have a Walgreens pharmacist who's moving from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and moving up to Wasilla to work as a pharmacist in that Walgreens. There's a relocation service, there's an agent that I've been able to coordinate with down there, because it is very valuable for us to be in connection, especially when it's out of state, with the person who's going to be representing the next step of their real estate journey. If I'm helping you sell a house in Alaska so you can buy a house in Missouri or South Carolina or wherever, then it's going to be really helpful for the experience that you're going to have if I'm in connection and trust and rapport with that other agent. Because there's a lot of logistics that are going to happen in between. And I would love for you to just be able to focus, to go to work, do your job, love your family, and do what you normally do while you're getting ready for your move. Would that be a valuable service to you? Again, the answer is always yes. Yes, that would be helpful. Thank you so much. You get to add, I always imagine that there's like this empty jar, right? And as I'm building a relationship with someone, every time that I do something for them, out of service for them, or to support them, I visualize a coin being dropped into that jar. And as I'm building this relationship with them, by the time we're done, I want that jar to be overflowing with contribution that I've made to them, because that's the experience that they get to walk away with. Make deposits. So that unfortunately, when it happens and you need to make a withdrawal, you have enough rapport built with them that there's still coins left in the jar. Right? Because are we going to make mistakes? Are we going to forget to do things? Are we going to sometimes miss out on fulfilling our commitments? Yeah, guys, we get to be human too. We get to make mistakes. And as long as we've built the work and the rapport, and we put in the time and energy to build that rapport and fill that jar, that empty emotional jar full of our trust and our love and our abundance, then when we need to make a withdrawal from that, and we backslid a little bit. I'm not the dreamy, like, never makes a mistake guy anymore. And I still get to be in connection with them. I still get to keep adding coins to that jar. It's just my job to redouble my efforts. How soon do you have to be there, right? Again, more motivation questions. We're just identifying if these sellers are able, ready, and willing. If we sell your home in the next 30 days, will that pose a problem for you? If yes, what would the problem be? What are some problems that someone could have with selling their house in the next 30 days?
They don't have a place.
Actually getting the home ready itself, like.
Getting home ready. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I haven't finished the basement yet, or, well, we're in the middle of getting the roof replaced, or we're in the middle of getting our furnace replaced, or what else? What happens after they sell? Could there be any obstacles there if they sold it in the next 30 days?
You know somewhere to go.
Yeah, nowhere to go. Well, I guess I get to go figure it out. Or we can start piecing that together right now. So again, and would it be valuable to know if someone's ready to sell in 30 days? I don't have any obstacles. No, I already know where I'm going. Not really worried about anything. I am motivated to sell. I need to get down to my new job because I start in 31 days. So knowing what their timeline and what their motivation level is gonna very, very much support you and them. What would happen if your home did not sell? Why is it important to ask that question? There's layers here.
I guess kind of know just where that leaves them, like whatever situation that they may be in, like what that could possibly do to them, and I guess let them be vulnerable.
Absolutely. Very good. What else?
Possibly
What
having
would-
rent
Go
and
ahead.
mortgage, possibly having rent and a mortgage or two mortgages if they're moving.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've already signed our lease agreement, so we'd be paying for a lease and our mortgage. Like, that would be a big problem. That would hurt. Why else would this be valuable? A valuable question to ask.
How can I do better? Like,
Well, making sure that we're customizing our time and energy spent on the services that are actually going to yield the highest result for them. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you guys believe in visualization? Yeah. It's a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool for me. It's a powerful tool for my clients. When I help them visualize what the experience would be like if we didn't sell, do you think it would serve me and them when it came time for us to have a conversation about price, when we didn't see eye to eye.
Mhm.
You see where I'm going with this?
Mhm.
If we're having a huge difference in opinion, that's okay. And I'll fold depending on the circumstances, if it's not too crazy outrageous. Remember that when we talked about what would happen if it didn't sell, what you told me was this pain point, this pain point, this pain point.
Mm.
I want to do everything possible to help you avoid that pain. That is why I'm recommending that we go in at this price, based on the market, based on the analysis we did, based on, right? There's gonna be a lot of data to support your recommendation. And they have a hope and want a dream. And they will sometimes fight for that dream. It's our job to help, and they're fantasizing about that dream, of that $20,000 over what it's actually worth. And what I get to do is help bring them back to earth about the potential risk associated with overpricing the home to sell. If you told me that you needed to be out in 30 days, and that's amazing. You said that if it didn't sell in the next 30 days, then X, Y, and Z would happen, and that would not be good for you guys. I want to help you avoid that. Would it be beneficial if we sold in the next 30 days? What if it's not possible to underprice a house? What's fair market value? You guys know what the definition of fair market value is? What any buyer is willing to pay and any seller is willing to accept. By definition, that is fair market value. Right? So if we list the house and we think that it's $20,000 under value, are we going to get multiple offers?
Mhm.
Most likely. Will those multiple offers create a bidding war between the buyers?
Mhm.
Will that price end up where it maybe should have been?
Mhm.
So are we really hurt by starting at this price? So that we can, if you're right, the market will prove it. And then I can give you a gold star, or, just like, it really is impossible to underprice a house.
Mhm.
Because the market will always ensure that the value is restored. Period.
Matt went to a listing appointment,
Mhm.
and I guess the couple were doing like multiple agents, like kind of interviewing type stuff.
Mhm.
And I think the first agent said like maybe like 670, and Matt came in at 640.
Mhm.
And he explained to them that like it might not be the 670 number, but we're gonna get a ton of offers. They're all gonna be over your asking price because it's a reasonable asking price. And the husband was like, oh, that's a great idea. The wife was like, nope, we want 670. And I don't think he took the listing, but
Some people get really, really attached to a number. They really, really do. And the idea is, again, if we list at 670 and you got an offer at full price, that's a good win. If you got 4 offers, if we listed at 640, you said,
Mhm.
and it bid up to 675. And the buyer is going to accept the property as is, they're not gonna ask for any repairs, they're gonna waive their inspection. They're gonna pay 50% down, like, there's so many different terms that we use as leverage as agents to help our buyers win a multiple offer situation. Would that be more appealing? Let's say if they got $5,000 less and they had no worries, it was guaranteed, non-refundable earnest money, a gap clause in the appraisal, like an extra bonus or a sunset clause, right? It's not just about the price. If we can create value in visualizing the terms that we have the potential to gain. Sometimes that's the uncertainty of the inspection process and the well and septic inspection and the appraisal, and sometimes the uncertainty of all of that disappearing can be what gives people the most value. It's not all about the money. And for some, they're immovable. You can only explain things so many times, and then you either get to choose to spend your time there or to move on. So it's good. It's good stuff. How much do you want to list your home for?
$1 million.
Me too. I would love that. I want 10% commission too, right? Like it's important to know where they're at, guys. It's important to know where they're at because that was gonna give you an indication when you get to the appointment. The purpose of listing appointment, same thing as the buyer appointment, right? It's to sign the agreement. It's to sign the listing agreement, which is a little bit more in depth than signing the buyer's services agreement, where you're now gonna go start looking for homes. Because you get to provide the seller with all of the reasons why you are the best listing agent to help them get the most money for their house. So how much do you, knowing how much they think their home is worth that they want to list their home, well, our neighbor's house sold for 800,000. So screw your 640, right? It's like knowing where their mindset is at is gonna help serve you a lot when you get to the appointment and you can actually have a face-to-face conversation about reality. Because sometimes having those honest, open, responsible conversations with our clients are where they see the most value. Some people, integrity and honesty is so much more important than any number that you could throw out as a benefit to what we're about to get into. That I really like that you were honest with me. And you gave me all the reasons why and they made sense. And I'm a reasonable person. So I not only am gonna go with what you recommend, but now I freaking love you because I know how your mind works. And I know that you're not just gonna feed me whatever I wanna hear. Cause you think it's gonna get you what you want. It's good stuff. How much do you owe on the property? This is another great question. In our market, it's not as common. When I first started in real estate in 2010, 2011, it was very possible to be over leveraged. I bought it in the peak of 2005, 2006. And now, I bought it at 300 and now it's only worth 280. Right? I owe 290. My assessment comes in at 290 or 280. I go in, I get to have a conversation with them at the listing appointment because I asked the question so that I know how to guide them moving forward. It's still possible. It's absolutely possible. $10,000 gap. We can't afford that right now. I hear you. What's your mortgage payment every month? There's $2,500. So in 4 months, you will have spent $10,000 towards a property that you need to get out of, or that for whatever XY motivation reason that they have to get out of that home. Again, these aren't very common conversations these days. That's a beautiful part about real estate in general. It's like whether it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market, there's opportunities in every single market for us. We get to shift our perspective, we get to help shift our clients' perspective, and we get to do our due diligence to make sure that we're ahead of the market as much as possible. That's going to put us in our client and our clients in the most advantageous positions possible. Do you have any questions before we meet? Will all the decision makers be there when we meet? Again, go through these questionnaires. If you have questions, you guys all have role play partners, role play partners, accountability partners.
We decided to do it as a group.
Cool, beautiful. And that is perfect. I would encourage you to have these conversations with your team members, members of this class, with Sharon, with me. You could call me as well. I'll write my information up there so you guys have that as well. But go through these conversations and see how they feel. See what other questions come up for you. And then if all else fails, you can always ask somebody in your team, in this company, outside this company. Most of the people in this industry are pretty kind. I always ask a Keller Williams agent because I know what I'm getting. Like I know what kind of training they've gotten. I know how their mind works and how we focus on mindset a lot in real estate in Keller Williams. So, all right. Any questions about qualifying sellers? We're about to get into follow-ups. Any ahas? Anybody in Zoom land? Any ahas from the seller questionnaire?
I can definitely say with each of these questions that, somebody could look at it and think like, why would I need this right now? But, it just doesn't help you now, but it's something that you can revert back to in the future.
Well, and do you think it'd be important, because are you primarily buyer specialist?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you'll be talking to buyers. Do you think it would serve you and your clients to know what kinds of questions they're going to get from a listing agent? Right?
Absolutely.
So good information for the future and potentially right now as well. I'm gonna write my number up here. Please feel free to call or text me at any point if you have any questions about anything. What other ahas do we have from the seller questionnaire? What do you think is the most important question on there? This is literally no right answer. I'm asking what you, and to get a better understanding of where you're at, what do you think is the most valuable question on that questionnaire? And let's talk about why.
On either questionnaire?
Let's go seller.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, pre-listing.
I think maybe, what's motivating you? You know?
I would agree. Yeah, I personally would agree. And the reason I say that is because for me, everything always ties back to the why. Why are we here? Right? Why are we doing this? Why did I choose real estate? Why am I living in Alaska? Why? That's coming from curiosity as well, is to find those whys. Why was it important for you?
Just, I mean, being military, like. If you're moving or wanting to sell your house, you probably got PCS orders somewhere.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what's your timeline then?
Yeah.
So like, getting their motivation, especially being military, can answer quite a bit of these questions.
Yeah.
Because when they're leaving, where they're going.
And when they're meeting resistance in the process, I'm selling my house so that I can PCS out of state. I'm selling or I'm buying a house because I'm PCSing in state. When they reach obstacles in their life, is it going to be helpful to tie back to the reason why? Are people going to lose sight of the why? Emotions are emotions, guys. They're going to take us through the roller coaster usually. Well, they're going to take our clients through the roller coaster. It's our duty and responsibility to be the maintained level mind. I hear you, I feel you, I empathize with you. I know this is causing you pain. My job is to help us find a different way to get you where you want to go. It's not that I don't care. I'm very invested in helping you guys and in you guys being happy and having a great experience. And if I don't keep a level head, then things can really get derailed. You said that you wanted to, you're PCSing in state. Why is it important for you to have a home when you get here? Let's talk about that again. Forget the problem, forget the obstacle. Let's go back to that visualization. When you can help people visualize their why, everything else becomes much less important. Because most of the time, the obstacles that we're going to run into are either ourselves or the emotions of our clients. I always say that real estate's it's 50% sales and it's 50% counseling. We're going through divorces, we're moving our lives from South Carolina to Anchorage. We have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. I just got orders, so I have to go. Right? They've got so many monumental changes happening in their life. Do you think that emotions might be running a little higher than normal? Guarantee it. And you're going to get to see the most raw and authentic versions of people. And if you handle it well, a difficult situation, if you handle it well, and the outcome is as close to what they wanted as possible, are they going to remember you in the future?
Yes.
Yes, create that experience for them. And you do that not by feeding or placating any of their emotions, their negative feelings, their doubts, their concerns. You edify their concerns so they feel heard. And then you help them shift that perspective from problem to solution, right? From obstacle to goal. Keep our eyes on the prize. What did that feel like? We talked about it way back when in that initial conversation, and now we're getting close to the end and this random hiccup came up. We're all in our emotions and feeling taken advantage of. Why did we start doing this? You know, those are the types of conversations that we have the opportunity to have, and it really does a lot to deepen our relationship with them. Any other ahas in Zoom land? All right, so we're gonna keep moving. We're coming up close to time. So once again, same process with sellers. I would highly recommend having a smart plan, a 19 to connect and 36 to convert. That you have these plans custom for buyers and for sellers. If you know that you have a seller in the future, would it serve you to have them on the buyer drip campaign? Probably not. You can put them on both, because if they're gonna sell, they're probably gonna buy. I would talk it out with your team, your rainmakers, make sure that you know what their process is, because you're working with their database and yours. And it's important to integrate those two. So just know your definitions. What's the what do we consider an appointment? That'd be a really good question for your rainmaker. I've been giving you appointment numbers and I'm realizing now we never really talked about what an appointment is. What qualifies an appointment? If I come back with a signed agreement or no signed agreement, or if I just go meet for coffee, if I just get on the phone with them, what's an appointment? Because once you track your numbers from contacts or dials to contacts, to appointments, to contracts, to pendings, to closed, what you're doing is you're creating the framework and the ability to identify where we're having some opportunities, right? We have struggles. If we have dials, contacts, appointments, contracts, pendings, and closed. If I have 100 here, was able to connect with 70 of them, set 10 appointments from it, sign 0 contracts, have 1 pending, and I have 2 closed for the year. Where's my gap? Yeah, if I had 10 appointments and I haven't had a single contract signed, what that tells me is that I have opportunity to grow my skills in the appointment. This is one of the very most important reasons to track your numbers. It's so that you know where you're at. Yes, there's a scoreboard. Yes, I have a competitive spirit, and especially in a team setting, I love to be the guy that had the highest numbers. I love to be the guy who's converting at the highest rate. And in reality, as a tool, if we don't keep track of our numbers and we're just focused on the activity and the result that we want to see come out the other end, then we're missing an opportunity for us to focus our 20%, right? We're in the 80-20 principle again. If I'm spending 1 hour a day training, and I know that based on the numbers, I have a 70% conversion ratio, just people, damn, they pick up the phone for me. That's a great feeling, right? I'm having great conversations with them and instilling value to the point to where they want to have a meeting with me. 10 out of 70, that's great. That's great. Now, I get to work on what that conversation looks like in the appointment, right? Super, super helpful to keep track of those things and to make sure that you're aware of where you're at. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's no good, there's no bad. It's opportunity. Thank you for coming in today for session 13 of your Ignite series. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and fill out the feedback form or the evaluation. We would really appreciate it. I'm not sure, is it gonna be your name in it, or would it be Brian's name?
No, but I'll touch base with Brian.
Okay.
We haven't done this.
Okay, that's okay. Usually what this will do is it'll take you to a general evaluation page where you have the opportunity to have a questionnaire, and it'll ask you in a drop-down menu to select who your facilitator was. I'm not in there, but either I would say Brian Sherburne, would probably, and I don't know if, I think you have to be a part of KWU or a member of leadership.
Probably Brian.
Yeah, so it's probably Brian. Feel free to give the assessment there and just indicate that it was session 13. And if you see a spot to add my name, go ahead and add it, just so that Brian has context. He gets all this feedback he's like, I didn't do a training, what do you? That would be fun. So if you see the opportunity, there's my name again. Please do fill it out. One other thing that I did want to cover was KW Care. So one of the things that I absolutely love about this company is that early on, in our founding, one of our CEOs at the time, Mo Anderson, started the initiative called KW Cares. What that is for is it's an opportunity for us as agents on the ground to make a donation to a fund that we as Keller Williams real estate agents can request assistance from if something life-shattering happens. A diagnosis that we weren't expecting, the loss of a family member, natural disaster. There are so many different ways in which this foundation has given back to the agents that serve in the company, that it has saved lives and it has definitely changed lives. So I highly encourage you, if it's $1, if it's $5, if it's $1,000, if it's $20,000, we're open and grateful for any contribution that can be made. We also have a fund here locally called AK Cares. Kira Dreyer is the director of that fund. And essentially, if we are experiencing a hardship as members of Keller Williams Alaska Group, we can make a request, or if you see someone struggling, get their permission and you can make a request on their behalf for financial assistance to be provided. I had a death in the family and I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I really need to be there for their funeral. Is there a way that I can tap into AK Cares? I'm not going to guarantee you that every request is going to be fulfilled. And what I know is that if we don't feed that fund ourselves, then it's not going to be available when we need it the most. So if you have any questions about AK Cares, please ask Sage at the front desk and she will help. And lead follow-up plan, right? Follow up, convert, stay top of mind, qualified buyers and sellers. This is what we've covered. Anything come up for you guys today? Anything new? Anything that shifted the trajectory of your momentum?
I mean, honestly, vetting our clients better and like categorizing them and spending time on them based on where they're at in the process, because I think I need to find that balance a little bit better on where to delegate my time a little more, what type of buyers, clients to delegate my time to a little bit better. So
Yeah,
that's helpful.
because how many leads do you guys have in your system? Do you know?
I think it's 11,000, not many.
Okay.
We usually get repeat like most of our business are
Yeah.
repeat clients. So we're all about building relationships on our team. That's
So-
what we do.
So with 11,000 plus contacts, would it be valuable to have a really clear picture of who you're looking for?
Totally.
And get really, really clear on who your ideal client is. Be open to more. Abundance is great, right? And getting really, really clear is going to help when you go, yep, check, yep, check, yep, check. This is someone I get to run with. You're looking in the right neighborhoods, the right price, like whatever your criteria are. You get to set that. So. And I believe Katrina is going to be in.
Yes.
Okay.
Bringing lunch, so.
We have about a 5-minute gap here between, I think, when lunch arrives and I see Wendy.
Yep. Yep. So Wendy will be teaching our next section, so
So we're gonna
Yeah.
take a quick 5-minute break.
we'll probably pause recording. 1, 2, 3, break. Well, hello.
For a few minutes.
It's warm in.
It is warm in here.
It is warm. No, okay, I'm good with warm.
Yeah.
All right,
A
so.
lot of
hey,
hot air in here, Wendy. You know,
I'm gonna come cool it down.
yeah,
You're probably off script, just doing it all beautiful.
yeah, some things I read direct, some things I just kind of went with.
All right, guys, for those of you on Zoom, I'm going to pause it here. And then we'll be right back, okay?
Hey, love you, bye.
Here.
Hey, you too, babe. Oh.